How else is this administration going to put people's lives at risk, going to cause more people to die? Well, RFK Jr. is going to fire all of the members of the CDC's Vaccine Advisory Committee. Apparently, after he wrote a Wall Street Journal opinion piece, this wasn't made as a press release on a government site, on the CDC site, because I went and looked, it wasn't there. So you have to get behind the paywall of the Wall Street Journal to be able to read the words that RFK Jr. Wrote, saying that he wanted to fire all the members of the CDC's Vaccine Advisory Committee. House Secretary RFK Jr. plans to fire all 17 members of the panel that advises for the CDC prevention on vaccines. The committee has been plagued, according to him, with persistent conflicts of interest and has become little more than a rubber stamp for any vaccine. Bullshit. You're a liar. You are putting people at risk because you are going to, you are making this whole thing a laughing stock. Donald Trump is making this whole thing a laughing stock. He's by putting RFK Jr. here. That makes us even more of a laughing stock, and by RFK Jr. now removing all of the people from this panel, claiming that all of them have conflicts of interests, is just yet another example of this administration putting the healths and lives of all the people in this country at risk. And goes nearly 2 hours after Kennedy's column was published, members of the panel received termination notices from the CDC, according to a copy of the email seen by Politico. Per the June 9th, 2025 directive from Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, this email serves as a formal notice to your immediate termination as a member of ACIP. The notice reads, ACIP votes on updates to the CDC's vaccine schedule. The CDC director has the power to overrule those recommendations, but rarely does. Kennedy, a long-time vaccine skeptic, will now be able to select replacements for all members who usually serve 4-year terms. What could go wrong with one person getting to pick all of these people, and that person being somebody who will try and claim that he's not anti-vaccine, he just doesn't like X, Y, or Z. But if you're not supporting vaccines in the way that the head of the CDC should, support vaccines, you are anti-vaccine. Simple as that. Committee, which is scheduled to meet from June 25th to June 27th to consider several recommendations, will still meet then, but with new members. Kennedy's decision marks one of his most aggressive moves to date to overhaul how government makes decisions about vaccines. He cited putting the restoration of public trust among any pro or anti-vaccine agenda. This is not going to do anything to help the public trust with the vast majority of people who I would say, can understand that this is reasonable. Not the minority of people that y'all are pandering to by trying to claim that vaccines are somehow harmful or to, it's not a pro-vaccine agenda to support vaccines. It is a pro-health agenda. Vaccines help people. What we've seen with measles in this country has put more people at risk because we have idiots like RFK Jr. in charge of the Department of Health and idiots like Donald Trump in charge of the administration overall. The decision also seemed to buck promises that he made to Senator Bill Cassidy, Louisiana senator, chair of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, to win confirmation for HHS secretary. Kennedy told Cassidy that he would maintain the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices without changes. He affirmed that to Cassidy before Cassidy agreed to confirm, and now he's shown that he's a big fat frickin' liar. On X, Cassidy said, of course, now the fear is that ACIP will be filled up with people who know nothing about vaccines except suspicion. I've just spoken with Secretary Kennedy and will continue to talk with him to ensure that's not the case. But it was already not the case, right? So what good purpose does it do? And of course, we here on Libertine Radio, we talked about how much of an idiot that Cassidy must be for believing RFK Jr. that he would do what he would say that he was going to do. Especially because if it's shown that he's going back on the promise and the word, you can't just have another vote to simply remove. You have to impeach at this point. It has just become more difficult to prevent this dangerous person from harming people with public health policies in this administration. Cassidy told reporters at the Capitol that he spoke with Kennedy twice on Monday, and that the assurance he'd won from the now secretary to win his confirmation vote concerned ACIP process rather than membership. The HSS spokesperson said the department made standard congressional notifications about the decision to fire board members. Of course, he specifically promised to not do standard congressional notifications. He specifically promised to speak directly to Senator Cassidy on changes like this. And he didn't, because he's a liar. Susan Collins of Maine, a member of the Help Committee and Appropriations Chair, was taken by surprise when asked about the move. I did not know that it had happened. It must have been very recent. I don't know who serves those committees, but it seems to be excessive to ask for everybody's resignation. Of course, he didn't ask for everybody's resignation. He gave everybody termination letters. Politico reported in February that Kennedy was considered replacing some of the panel members with his own selections. Public health experts were swift to express concerns. This is absolutely unprecedented. RFK Jr. has many levers at his disposal to influence vaccine policy, each with varying degrees of impact. But the move is a red alert, level 4 alarm, said Caitlin Jedalina, an epidemiologist who consulted for the CDC in the past. Paul Offit, a former ACIP member and director of Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, vaccine education center, said the panel's recommendations have yielded significant public health wins, such as nearly eliminating or substantially decreasing hospitalizations of babies with illnesses covered by rotavirus and respiratory syncytial virus. Can we trust an ACIP of people that RFK Jr. deems adequate to make decisions, said Offit, who currently serves on the FDA's external vaccine panel. The end result of all this is chaos and distrust. Bruce Scott, president of the AMA, raised similar concerns with ongoing measles outbreaks and routine child vaccination rates declining. This move will further fuel the spread of vaccine-preventable illnesses, Scott wrote in a statement. How many more people does this administration want to see dead? Because you're going to see many more dead children because of the actions of RFK Jr., many more dead people because of the actions now that, he will be filling all of those slots with individuals who are obviously going to back RFK Jr.'s stance on vaccine, whatever crazy harebrained ideas they might be, which could very well change from day to day, especially when what he tells Congress versus what he does in his actual job. And also, maybe it depends on the what the little brainworm wants to, I guess, tell him. Maybe the brainworm is secretly really the anti-vax individual and is controlling all of these decisions. But then again, who knows? Maybe RFK Jr. is going to suggest that everybody go swimming in that creek that's filled with sewage as a way to strengthen your immune systems, because that's the way that these idiots think.